be a really quick one. I just want to get something out there pertaining to Shanann Watts and the Shanann Watts murder case. The Watts murder case. I have done other videos on this subject in the past, and it's one of those type of things where you can get so deep into it and it can affect you so deeply and emotionally that you kind of have to take breaks from it. Because if you're not familiar with the case, it happened in August of 2018. Shanann Watts was 34 years old, pregnant with her third baby, and she and her two little girls, Celeste and Bella, were murdered by her husband, Chris, and their father. Yes, he killed his own children, his entire family. There's a lot out there on the case. I'm not going to get into the details of it in this video. I've done other videos basically kind of focusing on the dynamics of their relationship, because I am oriented that way a lot on this channel. That's a lot of what my channel is about, either psychological things, spiritual things, philosophical things, and stuff from my everyday life, experiences. Somehow I always put that type of deeper spin on it though. So I do that a lot here at the channel, and I even post about celebrities. I look at different aspects of their personalities. I love people's life stories, and I do it for educational or entertainment purposes only. This really isn't to bash people. It's not to gossip. That's really not what I'm into. It's to learn, to grow, to examine things, and share those things with other people. And this was a case that I fell into over a year ago, and it was very hard to get out of it. It's one of the worst things I've heard of in my entire life, and it really is one of the most publicized cases ever. There's so much information out there about Shanann and Chris Watts. Basically, from her job, she did a lot on social media for her work. She was a very outgoing person, and she liked to make a lot of videos. So she left a lot of that behind for all of us to see and check out. And not only that, things from their life that, she would put up, but there's just a lot out there on the case from people, YouTube creators making videos about it, doing their own breakdowns on the case. It's just very highly publicized. So quickly, a little backstory. There are a certain group of people that to this day still bash Shanann Watts. They pick out everything they can about this woman and talk about her from A to Z, whether it is the job she had, the car she drove, the clothes she wore, whether she decided to take her kids to daycare or not. Every little detail they can find to bash her and make her look like a terrible mother, and just yada, yada, yada. Okay, we all know shit like that goes on in the world, yada, yada. But this woman is dead. She's deceased. She was murdered. She's the victim. And so I'm just wanting to put it out there really quickly. This really is just kind of a response to comments that I've been seeing across certain YouTube channels and on their videos. These people are out there. And the reason why they started bashing her in the first place, it all ties back to something that happened during Chris's confession. If you follow the case, then you know. But there was a technique that Detective Tammy Lee had to use in order to get a confession from Chris. Because at this time, they knew this man was guilty and he was involved. But they were very afraid that he was going to get away with it. Detectives have to operate a certain way. They were afraid that he was either going to lawyer up or clam up or, get away with this lie that he was trying to put out and deny the whole thing. And they would never find out what happened to these girls and their mother. I can't even imagine being in the detective's position with that much anxiety, needing to get this. Okay. Because a lot of people disappear and they're never freaking seen or heard from ever again. And their families don't get any closure. So anyway, So that's the position the detectives were in. They knew Chris was guilty. Chris had gone on the news right after his family came up missing. And his entire body language, everyone could tell he was guilty. His body language did not look like that of a concerned husband, a concerned father. He was very awkward. I mean, he just totally gave himself away, as very highly narcissistic types generally do. I personally feel like Chris was a more covert narcissistic type. There's a lot of study out there on that as well, if you want to look that up. Live Abuse Free is a great channel that really breaks down Chris Watts, the covert narcissism, how it operates, all the way back to the beginning of a relationship, how they slide in on you, and they can, for years, seem like just a normal, perfect, everyday person. So, but I'm not going to go too far into that right now. What I want to get to is these people that are still bashing this deceased mother. Why? And every time I see it, every time I see the little narrow shit that they write about her, that they put out there about her, you know, I really shouldn't even care to respond to it, because I do have a lot better things to do with my time. However, and so I'm going to respond. But I needed to give you some context as to why. Because think about it. Most normal, healthy, emotionally well-regulated people of a certain level of emotional intelligence and empathy, a certain level of compassion. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not into toxic positivity. I'm not into rose-colored glasses, and I'm damn sure not into denial. And I never said I couldn't possibly say with any extreme conviction that this woman is an angel, that she was a perfect mother. Who the fuck is? Okay, I could never say, and I haven't said, that this person is perfect. But these bashers and haters of this deceased woman, this victim of this brutal murder, while she was 15 weeks pregnant, I don't know if I mentioned that part, you know, these bashers of her, they really want to twist everything up and make it really extreme like that. Like, if you're not bashing her and picking her apart, then you think she's a fucking angel and you're a dumbass. You're making a saint out of a woman you don't even know. Like, really? Give me a freaking break. Where's the human compassion? My God. And the first thing I want to ask these people is, if that was your family member, bet that up. I bet you the first thing you would not be talking about is where she worked, what she drove, what kind of mother was she. On this particular day, she had strawberries instead of blueberries. Oh, she didn't discipline the children this way. And oh, she didn't do this way. I bet you that's not the first damn thing you'd be talking about if it was your family member. And so, back to this certain group of people, and they took this shit all the way over the edge and pushed it over, even attacking her family. Yes, on and on, harassing her family, threatening her family, her poor grief-stricken mother and father and brother, after this horrific tragedy happened and wiped out their whole entire family. Right. These people, and I'm gonna finish up telling you why they got on this bandwagon in the first place. Because of the technique that Tammy Lee used when trying to get Chris to confess. It's all on YouTube. The investigations, the interrogations, this moment that I'm telling you about, it's all documented on YouTube, on video. You can find it if you want to do your own research. But the technique she had to use, they could already tell he was guilty. First of all, they could tell he was guilty because when you're dealing with a covert narcissist, and believe me, I've had plenty of them in my life. I've had them right next to me for years. I've watched their patterns. I've listened to their tone. I have picked up on the slightest subtleties, and that's what it takes. It takes being around them for a long time, studying their patterns to even really pick up on what a covert narcissist is, because they don't seem like a narcissist. So, for the detectives, it was quite easy to pick up on the fact that this man is guilty. I mean, I've used these same techniques in my own everyday life with certain people close to me that I knew damn well were lying through their teeth. So, if your pregnant wife or your spouse at all and your children are not on their daily routine that you know they do every day, they're not home, they're not on the phone, The car is there. The car seats are there. All of this, okay? Her purse is there. And you are being questioned by someone as to the whereabouts of your family. You're not going to sit there like Chris Watts. This is partly how they freaking knew. I mean, it was these narcissists, so many of them are just dead giveaways. You could just look at them and know they're guilty. No, they're lying. His demeanor was, at times it was kind of awkward and nervous. He. They all have that. They all have that. He. The duping delight, where they're telling you a bold ass fucking lie and kind of smiling and smirking. Yeah. You can learn all these things if you want to study narcissism, or if you've been around somebody like that long enough. So the bottom line is, if this is happening to you and your family is missing and they've been gone for hours into the next day, you're not going to sit there with detectives going, well, and every time they threw him a question or tried to get him to open up and talk about, well, the girls, what's their routine? Is that what they would normally wear? What did you typically feed them? Certain questions they were throwing at him for a reason. Because a father who was not guilty of anything, who desperately wanted to find his wife and children, would not even sit there and entertain such stupid questions. That's derp why they were dilly-dallying and just throwing out, part of it, yes, they were doing their normal detective work. They need to find out certain things. But part of it was also psychological techniques to see what this man's vibe really was. If you are a parent and a spouse, and your whole entire goddamn family is missing, you're not going to sit there and go on and on about, well, let's see, I would give them pizza and put blueberries on their cereal, and then she had a pink backpack, and oh yeah, yeah, man, I remember the day that we bought that, like, it was totally, well, we did this, and that is kind of Chris's demeanor. That's exactly how he was acting. A narcissistic person, their demeanor will not match what a normal, healthy person who is telling the truth, what their demeanor should typically be. The demeanor of a man whose family is missing, his demeanor did not match that. He was just rambling on and on with these questions that they threw out. You can tell things about people by the things you say to them, the things you hand over to them, what they respond back with. If it was any one of us, I know damn sure if it was me, I'd be like, look here, sir, detective, ma'am, I don't have time for these silly questions. My family is missing. We've got to get out of this office. We've got to get out there right now. We've got to go. We've got to do all that we can. I am starting to freak out. I want to keep my calm here depending on how long they have been missing. But if all the facts were in place like it was with the Shanann Watts case, car seats, medications, purse, everything, shoes, her very flip-flops were there. And her best friend, Nicole Atkinson, that showed up at the house that day, thank God, she knew Shanann wore those damn flip-flops every day. She never went anywhere without them unless she was going on a business trip. Thank God Nicole Atkinson showed up and got involved. Nicole Atkinson showed up while Chris was out disposing of the bodies that morning. So Nicole already got the cops on the case because she was concerned, like, where is my friend? Whew, Lord. I'm going to go into more details of this case. Like I was trying to talk about in the beginning of this video. I have already put out several videos about the Shanann Watts case. A lot of it, though, is pertaining to the relationship dynamics between Chris and Shanann. Those types of things I study, not only because of my own personal experiences. Those types of things are very important to me. We can all learn from those types of things. A lot of it is what factored into a lot of this stuff, what was going on between the two of them. So many things misunderstood. But I will be doing other videos about other factors of the case as well. Primarily, though, I want to get that series done about the relationship dynamics and some of the things that were really going on between the two of them. So you can stay tuned for more of that. But in this particular video, this is basically a response to the people who continue to this day to bash that woman. Okay, so that was a little backstory and a little context as to how the bashers of the actual victim got started in the first place. Let me finish that up. The techniques that the cops were using. Okay, so they could already tell his vibe. He was guilty. He knew more than he was letting on. And what Tammy Lee did, Chris was clamming up. You know, they put more pressure, progressively more pressure on him. Come on, Chris. You know, they quit fucking around after a while talking about cereal and morning routines. That's just how they kind of caught a vibe on him. How they kind of got to get into his brain and get to know him and, you know, catch a vibe on, okay, this mug is not even the least bit worried about these girls. He's freaking talking about cereal and backpacks. And he's, you know, okay. So after this happens, they start increasing the pressure. Come on, Chris. Now, we know you know something. Let's have it, you know. And they know a narcissist wants to look like the good guy. They're very covert narcissists, are very people-pleasing, and they really don't want anyone to think badly of them. I mean, I've seen some that can do the worst things to you and still say, do you still love me? Do you still think I'm a good person? And do the most horrible things to you. So anyway, Chris had that personality type. And they knew this. So they kept saying things like, come on, Chris, we know you love those girls. We know you want to do the right thing for those girls. Where are they? Let's get them out of the cold. We know you want to take care of them. That was also a way to boost his ego, because he is a fucking narcissist. They know the narcissistic types and mentalities. So that's a way for them to boost his little ego. You know, you have to treat narcissists like children. A lot of different narcissists, some of them, you have to treat them like children. A great deal of them, especially the coverts. And think like a child, you know, boost their little ego, stroke their little feathers a little bit. Get them to want to, you know, give the information. Okay, so that really didn't work, though. He was starting to break down a little bit. His father ended up showing up. The pressure was on. The detectives were afraid that he would get out of there that day, and they would never find these missing women, these missing girls, their mother and daughters. They were so afraid he was going to lawyer up or get away, or his dad was going to say something. And so what ended up happening is, before Detective Tammy Lee allowed him to go and speak with his father, she threw Chris a bone. Now, this was a psychological technique. This was not entrapment. His family likes to say shit like, he was railroaded, he was tricked, he's not guilty. They pressured him into giving a plea of guilty. They put ideas in his head. Absolutely not. Thank you. This is how it works with a narcissist. Some of them, a great deal of them, especially the covert. I've had it happen literally in my own damn close personal situations with my relationships and people close to me that acted that way. They don't take the initiative to come up with things on their own. Yes, they can think for themselves. A lot of people get that wrong. They can go out and do things on their own and think for themselves. They can. But generally, they don't come up with certain thoughts when it comes to relating emotionally, expressing themselves emotionally. Certain things they're afraid of, they will really hold back. So what you have to do is, Tammy Lee fed him a bone. You give them an idea. Like, literally, I've had this happen in the past in my own damn relationship. Like, my partner would do something to me that really hurt me or betrayed me. And I would say, you know, come on, man, this hurt my feelings. You know, don't you realize this hurt me? I would want him to talk about it and sort of take responsibility for it and go into a little bit of detail, like show some compassion, like he was really regretful, like he really felt bad, and that would let me know that he wasn't going to do it again. And he just had a way of covert narcissistically beating around the bush and not able to empathize with what he had done to me, what I was feeling inside. And so I would say, well, my gosh, I would think you would say, listen, I realize what I did to you, how bad it devastated you. I feel that deeply inside, and I would never want to make you feel that way. I apologize. You know, if there's anything I could do to make it up to you, I would say this to him, I would figure that a normal, healthy man who loved me as much as you say you do would have more of an apology for me, would take more of an account of this, and would kind of be I would, if I hurt my partner, I would literally be sitting there. If I thought I had betrayed him or made him feel insecure in any way, I wouldn't be able to live it down. I would be sitting there going, as a normal, healthy, well-regulated, my narcissistic side is in check, it's on a spectrum, person who can empathize, self-aware, emotionally intelligent person who truly loves my partner, cares for his well-being and his feelings, I would be sitting there going, oh my God, I hurt this man. I made him feel less than. I made him feel betrayed. I made him feel that he can't trust me. That fucking hurts me. I've got to say something to him about it. And I would start to say something to him about it. And you would be able to sense it in my body language. You would be able to sense it in my tone that I was truly sorry. And that I wanted to clear the air and take responsibility, and that it wasn't going to happen again. And I would show him by my actions in the future. That's what I would expect from him. But some people can, not necessarily be narcissists and have a hard time with verbal communication. Yes. Sometimes men in general have a hard time expressing their emotions. Yes. Even if they are really, truly sorry, which he would always tell me he was, but he would skim right over the top of it like it was really no big deal. It didn't really hurt him that much. He was just sorry he got caught. He was just saying sorry for the sake of saying sorry, so I'd get off his back. Or it kind of always felt like that to me, which I do know that narcissists are broken in childhood and they have a really hard time getting deep and intimate and really showing emotion. It doesn't necessarily make my partner a monster at all, because he's not. I love him dearly, but he definitely had some of those types of things going on that hurt me tremendously. So back to Chris and Shanann Watts. I'm just trying to give you guys some info that I know certain things about how narcissistic people act. And when I would feed him that story, when I would say that to him, well, so-and-so, I would think that you would say to me, gosh, I'm really sorry for this is what I did and this is how it felt and I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. I would think you would say, here's what he would do. He would take the words right out of my mouth. He wouldn't come up with it first. Come get me out of bed. I'm not even talking to him. And come take the initiative to come up with this emotion in his own heart and his own head and say, hey, listen, I have something I want to talk to you about. I realize what I did. This is how I feel about it. I want to apologize. Any fool can apologize with some sincerity. You don't have to be a narcissist like to say that to you too. Well, nobody's perfect. I said I was sorry. No, fuck that. You don't even have to put a lot of words into it. If you're genuinely sorry, it will show in your demeanor when you look at me. How you feel about it. It'll show me you'll be feeling it. But a lot of highly narcissistic people can't feel your pain. They can only feel what they're going through. And half the time they're not feeling what they're going through because they're in denial and so busy trying to avoid their feelings. That's why they're so damn narcissistic. I know it can get twisted. So anyway, it would only be when I would feed him the exact words. He would turn right around after I would say, man, I would think if you really loved me, you would kind of have a different vibe about you when you apologized. It would seem more sincere. And he would literally say, okay, look, Tam, I'm sorry. I did this. I did that. He would literally take the story, the words, the idea right out of my mouth right after I said it like that and repeat it back to me. No, that's not an apology. That is not sincere. That's how you can tell you're dealing with a narcissist. And I knew that's how you can tell when a person isn't really fucking sorry for what they did. It's how you can tell when they're guilty. It's how you can tell a lot of fucking things. He took it right out of my mouth and never came to me of his own accord, his own initiative, his own drive, okay? His own Same with Chris Watts. So that is the technique they used. As far as his family going, they planted and they pressured. No. It is just a simple way of telling if someone is lying or if they're guilty. If they take the ideas right out of your mouth that you sort of put out there, you know damn well they're lying. and that they're not on the up and up. And that's all Tammy Lee did. She said, so she finally flipped the script, and she said, well, Chris, because she knew they were running out of time and they wanted to be able to find these girls. And she said, well, Chris, they took the pressure off Chris a little bit and played up to his ego a little bit and said, well, Chris, we know that you're such a loving father. We know you would do anything for those girls. Did you perhaps have to clean something up? Did you have to take care of this for Shanann? Were you protecting her? Are you I mean it in the trickery type of way. It wasn't like that. This was a psychological technique to see if he was guilty or not. They needed to get a confession and quick, and they thought in their mind, if they can at least get a partial confession, just get something, then they will be so much closer to getting the full confession, because they already knew he was totally freaking guilty, no matter what he said. He'd already proven that. Body language and everything else. His family, I don't know how emotionally intelligent they are or how intelligent they are, period, as far as picking up on body language and knowing when my son who can do no wrong. A lot of narcissistic mothers are that way. I don't know what they can read and what they can't read and what they know about their son and what they don't, but clearly they missed something here. Let's check on time. I will do a follow-up to this. Getting on to the point, let's keep rolling. So that was the technique Tammy used, and that is why, okay? It wasn't any pressuring Chris or tricking him into anything. They just simply put an idea out there. He didn't have to run with it. Cindy Watts, Chris's mother, who thinks he was forced into a confession. These narcissistic types of people that when we say something, they don't have to take our exact words out of our mouth. Nobody put a gun to their head and forced them to. They are absolutely grown men and women that can say, no, that's not right. No, I don't feel that way. No, that's not what happened. Here, let me tell you what happened. Let me give you the truth. Let me give you my version. I don't care how damn scared they are. Nobody forced him to take Detective Tammy Lee's story and run away with it, which is what he did. Bam! Dead giveaway that he was even more guilty. Because that was her story. She created it to see if he would grab it and run with it. Her exact words, her story, and Chris ran with that. He bit right then. Because he was under so much pressure, he did not want to confess, and he needed an out. And the narcissist always wants to come out, the covert, the people-pleasing, desperate for attention. Something happened in childhood, and I'm not bashing that because I've had so many I love that have been through that, and I've been through that in childhood, but I chose to go the other way and work on that trauma. Anyway, but the covert, people-pleasing, covert narcissist will always want to look like the good guy, okay? So he grabbed that story very quickly after Tammy Lee said, were you protecting Shanann? Did she do something to the girls? It's literally like they were just talking to a child. It's a reverse psychology technique. It's a fucking technique they used to get a confession. They didn't force him to take it. They didn't force him to agree to that story or to run with that story. No. But he clamped onto it and he said, his father, he got to talk to his father a minute and he began to tell the father, yeah, Shanann killed my girls. That's what happened. She killed my girls, and he made up all this crap about how he saw them on the baby monitor and she was on top of one of the girls and he came in a fit of rage and killed her because she killed my babies. Well, we all know that's a damn lie because Tammy Lee had just fed him that story. She created that story to be able to tell for damn sure if he was guilty. Knowing if he ran with that story that was hers, then he was fucking guilty. If he can't come up with something on his own, of his own accord, these are the techniques they use. And it's true, and you can use it in everyday life with other people around you too, to be able to tell if they're lying to you, manipulating you, or guilty of something. Yes. So if they take the damn words right out of your mouth and it's not coming from their soul, their honest freaking, no, you can tell. So he did that. And, of course, if you know the story, he made up all this crap that Shanann did this to the girls, and he sat on that alone. He did not fully confess to all of the murders for several days. So this is how this band of people, this group of people got on the bandwagon that Shanann Watts killed her own children. And Chris only killed her in a fit of rage. And they've been hating this woman ever since. And it is not freaking true. Chris confessed, and her name should be cleared. The family wants their daughter's name cleared. She was a wonderful mother who loved her children very much. Nobody's a perfect angel. Nobody on this earth doesn't get frustrated with their own children sometimes. Nobody's a perfect mom. But what I'm getting at is this is how it all started for these people that continue to bash her. Okay, I'll make a second part to this just so I can clarify some things about the interviews, the interrogations, Chris's demeanor, what happened, whatever, what have you. But just to clarify that to the Watts family, how they're always trying to say he was pressured, he was tricked. No. If we're free to create any story we want and ask any question we want. Well, did a purple cow do it? Did your mama do it? Did you cover up for somebody? Are you protecting somebody? We can ask any question we want. And we can tell by your response if you're lying. If you take, yeah, the purple cow did it, like a little freaking stupid boy, like a little preteen, lying juvenile, you can see right through that if someone grabs your exact story you just asked them and told them, and they take that away from you and concoct a story around it. You know for sure they're lying, and you know they are guilty as fuck. Did I say that? As fuck. Okay? You know. And that's how they knew. But they still needed to get the full confession, which they did end up getting days later. This got out to the news. This got out to the media that Shanann killed her own babies, and it wasn't true. And these people ran with it and started to harass her family. This poor grief-stricken family. I can't imagine the pain and the sickness in their stomach. I cannot imagine what the hell they've been through. Okay? And yes, people were sending them hate mail, hate emails, driving by the house, doing all sorts of terrible things to them. And even to this day, even though Chris confessed to all of it, the gruesome details of it are out there. There are still people to this day that bash Shanann Watts, and I personally am sick of it. You know, I don't care if she was a perfect mom or not. I don't disrespect the dead like that. I mean, anybody with a heart, with some empathy, with some compassion. Again, I'm not a toxic positivity kind of motherfucker. I don't wear rose-colored glasses, baby. No. I tell it like it is. But let me tell you something. When it comes to something like that, unless the only way, and even then I wouldn't disrespect the dead. If this person was a lying scumbag all their life, they did nothing but smoke crack, rape people, kill, steal, cause everybody nothing but pain, suffering, and hell all their life, and they died. Okay, I might disrespect them then after they died. I might have some choice words for their ass, or I probably just wouldn't have nothing much to say about them. But as far as anybody else, I don't care. I don't care what they did while they were here. A victim of murder? And you're gonna bash her like that? No.